Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. So today was a bit of a, challenging day to find topics. Wasn't really much to discuss. I heard, a story about LeBron. From Brian Windhorst, where he basically said that it's not 100% guaranteed that LeBron continues to stay with the Lakers. But I'm like, I don't want to talk about that because I'm sure a lot of people discuss that. So I was going through the internet, couldn't really find anything. And then I came across a clip from Gil's Arena. And in this particular clip, Gilbert Arenas was talking about Michael Jordan's time with the Washington Wizards. During his tenure with the Washington Wizards as an owner and as a player. Now, if you know anything about Gilbert Arenas, I believe he was drafted by the Golden State Warriors. I could be wrong, but I know he played there. And I also know, I'm sure we all know, that he played with the Washington Wizards. That's really when he turned into Agent Zero. I think he was an all-star, and he was playing well, and he had his battle against LeBron and all of that in the playoffs. But that's when he was who he was. So he's an insider with the Washington Wizards. And essentially, what Gilbert was doing was he was taking us behind the curtains about how the process went in terms of Michael Jordan and the Washington Wizards ultimately deciding to part ways. And according to his story, he was essentially saying that the Wizards and the players had basically come to the resolution that they no longer wanted Michael Jordan to be a part of the organization, and that's what he discussed on Gil's Arena. But before we even get into Gilbert Arenas' explanation of this story, this video is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. PrizePicks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select two or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting two entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And once again, once you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what Gilbert Arenas had to say. It's a short clip, about 2 minutes or so, about the Michael Jordan story, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to that.
They just had a big falling out. Okay. Right? I know people, try to pretend that it didn't happen, but when he went there, it was the game ownership. And, he got rid of like the Rip Hamiltons and all the young guys, Courtney Alexander, Popeye Jones, which is not old. Which is not young, but it was to build a playoff team to make it to the playoffs, right? And then he was going to go into management. How he was dealing with the players, they didn't like the idea that this is how they're being dealt with as the player version of him. What happens as the owner version of him? So the team had a meeting and basically said, we don't want him here. Oh. We don't want him to be our owner. So. Damn. Mr. Poland basically said, the players voted. So they gave him, when he had the meeting with the MJ, gave him that check and said, the team don't want you, gave him $10 million. MJ threw that left.
Damn.
So MJ was so he was getting killed. So Mr. Poland was getting killed because of the MJ thing. So, so he was like, just erase his name out of here, let people start talking about bet.
That's a bar, Gil. You ain't tell nobody that.
Bet.
Wow.
Shit, got Mike name up out of there.
Wow.
Out of here, nigga.
Crazy to hear.
Oh, shoot.
I should be the GOAT. I did something MJ couldn't do. Got the Wizards to the playoffs.
Talk about it.
And won the playoff series. I'm the GOAT. Move over LeBron.
Talk about it.
Move over Jordan.
Talk about it.
It's your boy.
So we asked.
And I mean, if you add our stats up together, I mean, I burn him. you know. If we want to go to history, I gave him 41.
Mike?
I'm about to tell my kids that.
Mike, you gave Mike 41?
You should.
So
Mike and him 41?
I mean, it wasn't like on
No,
Mike.
but I'm saying
it wasn't on Mike. He was on the court.
So Mike was 41 Mike and then 60 on Cole.
I mean, he was old, but the fact that
It don't matter.
It
You
was
on the
still
court.
six rings.
You on the court.
Still six
You on the
rings.
court. It don't matter. You on the
He
court.
was still MJ, you know what I mean?
It
So-
count.
He's
It
still-
count. That's it.
Because
It count.
When I tell my story, it was the MJ with the Bulls. He just had the blue alternate jersey. They don't know.
Jerry Krause, we talked about this earlier this week, but Jerry Krause was the GM of the Bulls when MJ was there, right? So he was the architect of those 6 chips. So MJ put in a kind of GM capacity with the Wizards, was unable to reach the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you heard what Gilbert Arenas had to say. As I was listening to that story, the only question that came to my mind was, why is Gilbert Arenas doing this? What is the intent behind even telling this story? Because if Gilbert Arenas wants to tell stories, I'm sure he knows a lot of stories to tell in the NBA based on his time there, based on all the relationships that he still has. So I'm sure he has 1,000,001 stories he could tell his audience. So why are you honing in on that particular story to tell the Michael Jordan story? To me, here's what I think. I think that Gilbert Arenas knows that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. He knows this. And he knows he cannot make a serious argument to any basketball person that LeBron or maybe Kobe Bryant, whoever else, is better than Jordan. So now what I think Gilbert is doing is he's reaching for irrelevant information and basically trying to, sully Jordan's character. The reason I say that is because at the end of listening to that story, no one is going to come away with the conclusion that, well, you know what? I'm beginning to think differently about Michael Jordan. Nobody would think that. No one would think that. The only people that would think that are those that are desperate to have something to hold against Michael Jordan and knock him off. They're doing everything. They know they can't win the basketball argument. So now they're going to, well, how was Michael Jordan as a general manager, owner, and all of this different stuff? How he was his personality, all of these ridiculous things, right? Ridiculous things. And to me, it looks desperate. Now, Gil may see this and say, no, I disagree and all of that, but I think it does because what's next, man? We're going to talk about the way Michael Jordan walked. What is it? The way he combed his mustache? What is it? The way he smoked his cigar? Like, where are we going next with it? Right? To me, a lot of this seems like a desperate attempt to try to sway some people on their views of Michael Jordan and maybe LeBron or whatever. I think that's what it is. And at the end of all of this is that it's still going to remain unsuccessful. Gilbert Arenas also threw out something else during his argument with Rashard McCann on Kobe Bryant. He said that now when you ask people who's the GOAT, it's 50-50 between him and LeBron and Jordan. A lot of us was like, where did you get that information from? Where? Pull up 100 people. It will not be 50 people saying LeBron is in 50. That's not going to happen. There's no data out there that shows that. As a matter of fact, the last time there was any type of vote like this was conducted by ESPN after The Last Dance, and Jordan won every possible statistical. Some people even told Jordan to have a beer. Like it was absurd. Nobody thinks that, including Gilbert Arenas. He doesn't think that. Gilbert Arenas doesn't think LeBron is better. He doesn't think that. Because the reason, whenever you ask him to explain it, he always struggles. He always struggles. Always struggles to make that argument. But if you ask him to make the argument of Michael Jordan to go, he can do it for you in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Gilbert Arenas knows Jordan is the GOAT. Everybody on this show know, but they got to have something to talk about. But to me, the whole thing looks just desperate, man. I mean, like, come on, what are we doing now? What are we doing? What are we doing? Now we're criticizing Jordan. Like, come on, what are we doing? To me, Gil's Arena, when they do this, seems like a propaganda machine for LeBron. That's what it looks like to me, because it's like, what can we say about Jordan? Now we're talking about what Jordan did. What team has LeBron James managed for us to even be having this and why does that matter? Why does it matter? Okay, okay, fine. Jordan didn't build a successful roster with the Washington Wizards. What about the Los Angeles Lakers, the 2021 Los Angeles Lakers with Russell? But they didn't make the play-in. What's the point we're making here? Like, so what are we talking about? Like, I don't understand it, man. Like, this dude to go. Like, I don't get it. But I understand. LeBron is your man. You got to keep putting him out there, even though you know you don't believe what you don't believe. Come on, you know that. Gilbert Arenas knows damn well that LeBron ain't better than no damn Michael. He knows that. And the people on this show know the same thing. The people on this show know the exact same. That's why Rashad McCann had that slip up. Like, people being paid. They know what's going on. We just act like we don't know. But we all know. We all know. To me, man, let him live. Let the king live, man. Let Jordan live. Like, come on. Like, not king in the sense, like, but let the GOAT live, man. Like, stories about who didn't like him and who voted, man. Who cares? Who cares? Son three-peated 2 times, man. What are you talking about? He made 9 all-first defensive teams and got a defensive player of the year. There's nobody you're bringing in. Anybody's going to be like, yo, he bet. Nobody. There's nobody, man. Nobody. Who are the people who would think otherwise? Like, what are we basing it off of? Like, what are we doing? You talking about the competition? Like, yo, like, whatever. Over the last, let me say, 48 hours, we've been producing a lot of content centered on Stephen A. Smith. And a lot of it has been anchored by some of the content or some of the information that Jason Whitlock has been putting out over the last few days. And then, of course, you know, Stephen A. Smith went back at Jason. We all know this, right? So that's really where that's what inspired the content we made. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know anything about my thoughts on Jason Whitlock. You know exactly where I stand. We produce shows. We really started talking about Jason Whitlock during the Deion Sanders saga. That's when we really started to get into it. And I gave my point. I made my feelings clear. We produced shows around it, and I didn't hide my feelings, right? I didn't hide my feelings, but I also tried to think things through, and basically judge the information. I didn't want to go into this particular beef between Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith with presupposition, like, oh, yeah, I feel this way about him, so is it going to taint? No, I'm like, okay, let me listen to the information, the things that he's saying. Does it make sense? And then form an opinion. And when Jason Whitlock started to go with Stephen A. Smith, he went at him for, on various different fronts. But then he got on a particular point, which was Stephen A. Smith's college basketball career. He started to point out some information that, to me, turned out to be quite damning, and I think turns out to be true. And even when Stephen A. Smith put out his hour response, nowhere in there did he actually address that point. He did not. And I came to the conclusion yesterday that Jason Whitlock is 100% correct about Stephen A. Smith, period. Whether or not I like his stance on this person or that person, it still doesn't change the fact. If we're going to be honest and we're going to be fair. He's 100% correct, right? And some people can't get past that, but I think he's right. And when he's right, he's right. When somebody's right, he's right. So what happened yesterday, we had published a show on Michael Jordan, right? A video about why Michael Jordan chose not to get into politics and talk about and give his political views, right? So as I was going through the comments, some of our viewers started writing, Jason Whitlock mentions you on his show, Fearless with Jason Whitlock. And I'm like, really? So I was trying to figure out because I was so tired. And then luckily one of our viewers actually put the timestamp of where it was. So I go over to his show. He produced about an hour-long show. And he was talking about Deion Sanders. He was also talking about Stephen A. Smith. And when he got to the part where he was talking about Stephen A. Smith, to my surprise, he shouted out Dreamerspro and basically highlighted some of the work that we did and how it how it gave him more information or more ammunition, so to speak, to further double down on his position about Stephen A. Smith. But before we even get into what Jason Whitlock had to say about us here at Dreamerspro, this video is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. PrizePicks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select 2 or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting 2 entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit matchup up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And once again, once you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what Jason Whitlock had to say yesterday about Dreamerspro, our show, and how it all tied into his campaign against Stephen A. Smith. And then we're going to come back and continue on the show and give you guys our closing thoughts. Take a listen to that.
He's a clown. This also connects to my man, our man, Stephen A. Smith. I've been on this topic explaining to you all what a clown Stephen A. Smith is. And there are many of you all that don't want to address what I brought out about Stephen A. Smith because, again, it's your job to defend elite ignorance. And Stephen A. Smith makes a lot of money. He works for ESPN, and he's been installed at the top, and you're a worshiper. And so it bothers you when I point out Stephen A. Smith's flaws. There's some guy has a pretty successful podcast. I think it's called Dreamerspro. And this dude stepped into reality and put out a video yesterday of something that Stephen A. Smith did that I hadn't seen or I wasn't aware of, but he made me go look it up. He played a clip from Stephen A. Smith. He played the audio clip of Stephen A. Smith, I believe on the Paul George podcast. There's some other host, but I think it's related to Paul George, where Stephen A. Smith once again talked about not playing a game at Winston-Salem State and how this calls into question. But let's play the clip. I think it's SOT number 4 of Stephen A. Smith once again. And we'll play the other examples. Stephen A. is all over the internet talk about how he never played at Winston-Salem State. Let's play SOT 4.
Stephen A., you recently spoke about your short-lived basketball career.
Yep.
By admitting that I believe that you averaged less than 1 point a game. But what I did not know is that you said that you actually received a basketball scholarship.
Yes, I was on a basketball scholarship at Winston-Salem State University my first year there. I cracked my kneecap in half. And I was never able to play again. I kept trying to come back and practice, but this is in the late 80s. Technology wasn't then what it is now. I was at a Division II school. They didn't have the facilities necessary for me to rehab. I actually had to leave school for a semester to go home under my mother's insurance to rehab because they wouldn't pay for the insurance in North Carolina at that particular school because my mother's insurance wouldn't cover me there and they wasn't going to cover us there. They paid for the operation, but they didn't pay for the rehabilitation. So I never completely recovered from it. So I would come back, make the team, trying to practice, and once every 36 to 48 hours, my knee would just give out. I couldn't run without the limp and all of that other stuff. And that's what happened. So what I said was, everybody teased me 1.5 points a game. I said, no, it was less. I never played because I cracked my kneecap in half with your ignorant asses. You know what I'm saying? You didn't know. Right kneecap. I still got a 6-inch screw in it to this very day. They never took it out because back in the day they would leave it out. Then technology advanced and they would take it out. But by that time, it was in the 2000s. My career was thriving and I didn't want to take any time off to go back and take the screw out and have to rehabilitate all over again because I knew I wasn't going to play. They told me I could live with the screw on my knee. That's what I did.
So that's Stephen A. On a different podcast talking about the 6-inch screw and talking about how he never played. This guy's really good at stretching the truth and saying things that are far-fetched. And people are really good at just nodding their head along. Well, it's Stephen A. Smith. And he's elite. And he makes a lot of money. And so I can't question him, and he's popular. And I got to make sure he doesn't get upset and that we do a successful podcast. So I'm going to just sit here and nod my head while he says farcical things. Farcical. So he referred at the beginning to the interviewer did. I want to play you this shot 5. This is the original where Stephen A. came out of the closet about never playing at Winston-Salem State. Play the clip.
They talk about I averaged 1.5 points a game. I saw some article on social media. That's a lie. It was less. See that? You didn't know I was going to say that, did you? It was less than that. It's a lie. How about 0? Because I never played, because I cracked my kneecap in half.
So you heard what Jason Whitlock had to say. I was surprised that he mentioned this, to be quite honest with you. Not many people not many people in this industry do. And it really the person that really surprised me was Marcellus Wiley when he reached out, and we're going to be collaborating a lot with Marcellus Wiley this year, starting next week, and I think you guys are going to absolutely enjoy it. I'm going to love it for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun for me. But apart from Marcellus Wiley, since we've been on YouTube, the only people that have mentioned us was Marcellus Wiley, but the very first person, believe it or not, was O'Shea Duke Jackson. And then O'Shea Duke Jackson, and then he said he was talking about something. He goes, go check out Dreamerspro, what they doing over there. Then it was Anton Daniels. Anton Daniels was another one. Shout out to Anton Daniels. I never met him, but seems like a pretty cool dude. Some people agree, disagree with his views, whatever. I follow his content from time to time when I can catch up with it. So Anton Daniels did, and then Marcellus Wiley did, and then this is the 4th time. This is the other occasion. To me, it's a surprise to me, but what I've come to understand is the following. I understand that there seems to be this kind of elitist attitude that people have towards independent creators that did not come from within the system, meaning you're not a former. And Gilbert Arenas. I forgot to mention Gilbert Arenas. That didn't come from within the system. What do I mean by that? If you're not a former athlete, or you haven't been on television, or not currently on television, people tend to act like as if you don't really exist. They can see you, right? They can go on YouTube, go wherever. They see your content, but they don't view you as a real source because, well, you've never been on TV, and well, you're not a former athlete. That's how people have that attitude, like I'm above you and all. They really do, right? I remember when Stephen A. Smith was prepping to go with Jason Whitlock on his show, and Molly Cameron was like, don't respond to them. Well, the them that she's referring to is the same them that all of these people on TV have decided to join on YouTube to create content. So if it's just them, why don't you stay your ass on TV? Help me figure it out. Why don't you stay your ass on TV? Do you realize that the them that you're referring to, the people within that space, almost everybody on TV is trying to do what they do? Why don't you stay on TV? You see, y'all can play that game on TV because y'all got gatekeepers. You got people that are going to say, you're good, you're bad, you're going to get a show, you're not going to get a show. Those are the games that they play on TV. In YouTube and in the independent space, there's no more middleman. And you people don't get to decide who's not. It's the audience. And that really irks you guys. It really, really, really bothers some of you people. And then other people get it. Marcellus Wiley and others, they get it. They get it. Other people get it. They're not coming at it with that approach of, we're better than them, I'm looking down on them. They're like, no, how can we work together and all of this stuff? Because clearly they're doing something right. Clearly. So you look down on YouTube, you people that do YouTube, but yet you. So why are you on YouTube? Why are you on YouTube? You got people like Cameron and Maze. Shout out to Cameron and Maze. Those are people obviously I grew up listening to. I never met Cam and Maze, but shout out to them. You got them coming into the space. You got Matt Barnes and these guys that been in the space. And they're not on TV, so they can act like, people are not here. The fact of the matter is simply this. These people that run these television networks know that, was it Gen Z or whatever it is, more and more of them don't watch television. And they are running like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to find ways to get to them. And they know that folks like us are the ones that are garnering them, because people are tired of that whack, you know what, that y'all got on TV. That watered down, contrived, pay him to say that content that y'all got on TV. And these people are beginning to acknowledge people like us out here. So it doesn't really, the audience is going to decide. The customer gets to decide. The marketplace gets to decide. Not you people on TV. Whether you like it or not. Pat McAfee had a $120 million deal and he was not on TV. Just to break it to you. $120 million. And he was not on TV. The hottest thing smoking in town. And he was not on TV. So these are my thoughts. I just wanted to point that out, that Jason Whitlock acknowledged us. And I think that you're going to see more and more of that going on in the future. Because you can disagree with the person. You can act like they don't exist. You cannot act like those 4 or 5 million people that watch every month are not real. That you can't do. No matter how much you try to do it. And very soon, all those people you see on TV are going to be sitting right next to us, trying to figure out, how do you do it? How does it work? Stephen A. Smith was so lost that he went up there and said on his show months ago that he generates 2 billion views on you. That's how lost Stephen A. Smith is. He was up there talking about how the hell can you generate 2 billion views on you? How do you do it? How exactly do you do it? If you're getting 1 billion views, that means you're getting 83. So you're getting 160 million views on YouTube. Where? He was confusing ESPN's overall channel and attributing to himself. That's how lost these people are. So if you don't feel like what people are doing out here and independent creators, then why are you here? Don't worry, it's going to hit y'all asses when you'll start seeing independent creators actually getting paid what they're really worth. And then you're going to see who'll be making the real bucks. All y'all got is TV, and that's all that y'all got left. That $1 per view or $2 per view. That's all you got. Every year, it keeps going down. I'm just saying. Y'all just sat back and watched Shannon Sharp get a 50 million view interview and a 100 million view interview in aggregate. If you compile all of those clips, you tell me the last show on ESPN that did that in 6 months. I rest my case and I'll see you guys later. Peace.